So the transfer portal is alive and well in college football, and this weekend, some big-name wide receivers are going to be taking visits to both the Texas Longhorns and the Alabama Crimson Tide, and today we need to break down why each of those visits could be so incredibly impactful for each of those respective institutions. But before we do, as always, y'all know the drill. I need to hear from you. Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Do you believe that with spring practices winding down, we're about to see more names test the waters of the transfer portal? And let me know what you're thinking. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Hit that bell notification. I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it. And if you enjoyed the content, like and comment down below, as those interactions, though seemingly small, are incredibly impactful to content creators such as myself, and both getting picked up and maintained by the YouTube algorithm. But with all that being said, we need to hop right into this because the Texas Longhorns and the Alabama Crimson Tide are playing host to some very talented and intriguing wide receiver prospects, and we'll start with the Texas Longhorns, where ironically, they're playing host to a wide receiver out the transfer portal who is transferring from the Alabama Crimson Tide in Agiye Hall, a former top 100 overall player in the nation in his respective recruiting class, coming in number 45 overall, the number 5 wide receiver, and the number 11 player out the state of Florida. Now, Agiye Hall burst onto the scene on A-Day, where he exhibited some of what separates him and makes him such an intriguing prospect. Big catchability, the ability to go up and get it, and an incredible catch radius. All of these are things that make Agiye Hall such an intriguing prospect. Yet, as the season continued, Agiye Hall didn't get the reps he thought he would, and inevitably at the end of the season, though many in the Crimson Tide fan base, including myself, were hopeful that Agiye Hall and Alabama would be a marriage that would end up working, it wasn't. And I've said this before, sometimes maybe it's just a simple change of scenery. Inevitably, though, this was a transfer that had a lot of attention attached to it. But this weekend, he finds himself in Austin visiting the Longhorns, and the Longhorns have been quite successful in the transfer portal, being one of 2 institutions in all of college football that can boast a top 10 recruiting class and a top 10 class in transfer portal acquisitions, and Agiye Hall would certainly be a great talent to add into that list. Because let's be honest, it's always intriguing to add in more talent. Texas has got a lot in terms of talent in the skill positions. When you actually look at it, they have Xavier Worthy, they have Jordan Whittington. If Troy O'Meary can get right and stay healthy, he's someone I'm really interested in seeing put a full season of work under them. I think he's a very talented prospect. I hope he gets the opportunity. I hope he can stay healthy. But then you also have Isaiah Nayor, who you got out the transfer portal. You have Jaleel Billingsley, who you got out the transfer portal. Keelan Robinson, who you got out the transfer portal a year ago. Bijan Robinson, who looks to continue on his successful campaign. And then you get Quinn Ewers out the transfer portal as well. So I'm painting the picture that the skill positions for the Texas Longhorns are very loaded right now. And if that offensive line can come together at a certain point this season, you're going to like what the future holds, especially if all these parts can get gelling. So it is going to be interesting to note. It's also going to be interesting to note that the Texas Longhorns are still in contention for a transfer on the defensive side of the ball in O'Shawn Mathis, another storyline we're going to have to keep up with. But now let's go over to Tuscaloosa, where the Crimson Tide will be playing host to an absolute track star in Tyler Harrell, transferring from Louisville. Now, Alabama seems to always get these top-level transfers in who come in and instantly boom. Last year, it was Jamison Williams, who is wide receiver 4 for Ohio State, but transfers to Alabama and goes for 1,500 yards. That's insane production. Tyler Harrell will be visiting the Crimson Tide, and the Crimson Tide will be incredibly hopeful that they can convince him to join their cause in this upcoming season in the Revenge Tour. Anytime you have the former Heisman winner in your corner, you love where you stand, especially when that Heisman winner is Bryce Young. And we saw the type of production Bryce Young was able to give, even though he was one of the most sacked quarterbacks and pressured quarterbacks, not only in the SEC, but the entirety of Power 5 football. If that offensive line for Alabama gets right, we talk about the offensive line for Texas. If that offensive line for Alabama gets right, oh my word, watch out to what they'll field, especially with Jahmyr Gibbs, Jace McClellan, Roydell Williams, and Trey Sanders, possibly the best story in all of college football. Those are all names we have to keep an eye on. But if you add Tyler Harrell into all this, a legit track star who, when you watch the film, is just straight up outrunning people. But what gets me so excited is not just the presence of go routes. He's able to take an underneath route and take it to the house, which means he's not just a go route guy. You can do other things with him and he's going to be successful at it. If you pair him with all the talent Alabama currently has on roster, unproven, but talented nonetheless, I think we're going to see an Alabama offense that's hungry already, but if that offensive line gets right and they get in Tyler Harrell, watch out college football, because Bryce is going to be looking to take the top off that defense, and not many people are going to be able to keep up with Harrell. This dude has got legit speed, the type of speed that's game-breaking, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens. As both of these talented wide receiver prospects are looking for new homes, I think the eyes of the college football world are going to be watching intently on both of these prospects. But hop down to the comments. Let me know what you're thinking about the entire situation. That's it. See ya.